language, that mysterious, often misunderstood tool that lets us communicate, sometimes clearly, sometimes with a lot of hand gestures, especially when we are trying to explain why we are late. Some say language was invented out of humanity's immense need for excuses. And culture, the ideas, customs, and social behavior of a group of people. Culture is like the unwritten rulebook of life. It's the reason why beta is somehow both a term of endearment and a mild form of passive aggressive interrogation. But are language and culture somehow interrelated? Well, research has shown that a group of people speaking the same language would perceive certain things similarly. Hence, they would also share cultural beliefs that came about from that perception. A study conducted by Stanford researchers on Japanese, Spanish, and English speaking groups proved that the sentence structure of the language you speak can decide whether your culture focuses on blame or forgiveness. But let's get away from all that seriousness for a while and let me tell you how it all started. After watching Three Idiots, I remarked that all the jugaad done in it was amazing. At that, my mother casually said, "You know, there's no word for jugaad in English. It's like life's slightly shady life hack." And that got me thinking. There must be so many words like that that don't exist in any other language, especially in India, because which other country has 23 official languages and hundreds of unofficial ones? Fascinated by the prospects, I decided to explore. While browsing Google, I realized that with the linguistic diversity came the cultural diversity too, till parathas turned into uttapas. And thus, I returned to my original question. What exactly did it mean when it was proved that language and culture were intertwined? To answer this question, I conducted a survey that asked 100 Indians to poke their heads out from their comfy perch on social media and answer my questions about their language and their culture. I asked them about their favorite untranslatable phrases, the values that defined their culture, and how connected they felt to their language. The results were overwhelming. 33% of people felt that their culture valued family bonds a lot. And no, they did not copy from each other. Because when you link it with the vocabulary we have for family, it makes sense. In most Indian languages, there's a specific word for every relation. Yes, what I'm saying is there's a word for that far off relative who's talked about at weddings but you've never seen. Compare this to English, where everybody is Aunt Jen and Uncle Sam. When you have a word for every relative, you're much more likely to build lasting bonds with them. An interesting thing to note is that in Gujarati, there's no word for goodbye. There is only avjo, which means visit again. This represents the idea that there is never a forever separation between loved ones. There is only a returning home. Another amazing thing that a response pointed out was that in many Indian languages, there are two separate words for an informal or a friendly you and a formal or a respectful you. In Hindi, for example, it is tum and aap. Hence, we indicate our respect for someone just by using a pronoun for them. My survey also gave me a collection of phrases so unique that even Google Translate would need a chai break to figure them out. For example, a respondent said that their favorite phrase from their language Telugu was Telugu Ammavantadi, which means Telugu is a mother. This phrase showcases the deep love and reverence the Telugu culture has for their language. Another phrase that caught my eye was chulha nyunda, a Punjabi phrase which is an invitation to family and friends to come for lunch or dinner. This portrays the Indian tradition of connecting over food. Another question on my survey helped me discover that 87% of people who felt connected to their language also felt connected to their culture. This statistic proves how much closer to culture you can become just by knowing a language. Although I didn't know a single word of many of the languages of the responses in my survey, the intriguing, quirky, and thoughtful responses opened up a plethora of cultural worlds for me. The conversations these responses sparked opened up novel facets of my own culture. My survey, originally intended to answer a simple question, taught me two very important things. Firstly, just by speaking a language or learning more about it, you can stay connected with your culture. The cultural fabric of India is unlike any other, with multicolored strings, textures, and materials interwoven in a stunning explosion of beauty. The languages of India are entangled to form a mural just as detailed and exquisite. When we have such priceless possessions, why are we losing touch with them? Is it not our duty to conserve them, to keep them alive? In the words of Mahatma Gandhi, a nation's culture resides in the hearts and souls of its people. So speak your language more. Learn another. Duolingo threatening your family is always a good motivator. Keep these pieces of ourselves in your heart and soul. And secondly, the way your language is built reflects the values your culture believes in. So I feel we should all pay attention. We should pay attention to the words, the phrases, the details in our language. Pay attention to the underlying lessons our language teaches. And the next time we speak it, pay attention and try inculcating those values and lessons. I'll leave you with some words from my own language. Sambhadva badal abhar, fari madishu. Thank you for listening. We'll meet again.